This is TWiT.
Microsoft was hacked.
Right. Yes, they were. In the most low-tech way imaginable.
A password spray.
I love that. I love that. It makes it seem like we're trying to make this sound, somehow sophisticated. Here's how you prevent that. Disallow attempts after 3.
Yeah.
I mean, like, seriously?
Or have a good
password. Or maybe 2FA or something,
And then they said, and to dignify it, they said, but it was a nation state.
Well, okay. I mean, I appreciate that kind of disclosure, but
I'm surprised by it, really.
Yeah, I think there's no way this isn't embarrassing. So Microsoft, the language they used was, well, this was a legacy system. It was like it wasn't their fault.
It was in the corner.
It's your legacy system.
Collecting dust. Well, worse,
we go to you.
It was a legacy system that had permissions, apparently, to access the email servers and read everybody's
I'm just not convinced that this is what happened, right? This seems more like they were able to read emails from corporate accounts. Not that they actually, like you say, access. It's like, I think they had access to an email account for this test account, and there were senior people on an email.
Yeah.
That's
plus all the attachments to the email, right?
Well, of course they would.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here are the troubling bits of this, aside from what we've already said, right? Nation state, okay, scary. They got through with a password spray attack. Like Bob was sitting there going ABC123, ABC124. Like what? I mean, what is that? They also, the language is always, it's a very small percentage of Microsoft corporate email accounts. What?
The big ones.
We only need 2 or 3 of them. We need the big ones, right?
Yeah.
And then supposedly this hacker group was there specifically to learn what Microsoft knew about it.
Well,
for 3 months.
They think, and I don't know how they would know. Yeah, they were in there for 3 months, right? They think, I don't know how they would know that it was Nobelium. I'm sorry, now they call it what, Winter Blizzard or something?
Winter Blizzard, yeah. Midnight Blizzard.
Midnight Blizzard, who was looking.
That's the next company that Microsoft acquires, by the way. Midnight Blizzard.
They were the Solarwinds guys, right? So they think that they were looking to figure out what Microsoft, at least this is what Gibson said yesterday, what Microsoft knew about them. So there was it was counterintelligence kind of a thing.
Yep. It was counter a lot of things. So Microsoft in November, in a bit of really good timing, announced their Secure Future Initiative, right? This kind of modern version of trustworthy computing where, because of AI and the sophisticated nature of cyber attacks today, they really need to step up and, among other things, use AI to combat the AI being used to attack them. This had nothing to do with AI, like nothing. It was literally a brute force, like nonsense attack that should not have succeeded against someone with a Hotmail account, but it did. And now what Microsoft is saying,
once you know that test account doesn't have MFA on it, now what you're doing is you're harnessing a bunch of zombie machines, all coming from different IPs.
Yep.
So the 3 password thing still can work. It's just it is killing off IPs. But it's Midnight Blizzard. They've got 100,000 of these. So they're able to test a lot fast.
Right.
Right. The real thing here is, where's the machine learning model looking at it going, wow, 10,000 people have tried to access this account in the past minute. That doesn't seem normal.
2007 era corporate reporting tools. Yeah. Here's an idea. Why don't if only we had software that could pull the machines in our organization and report back the level of, OS versions, service pack version, whatever. Yeah. I mean, this problem was solved 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's what's embarrassing.
These rolling security improvements don't apply evenly. They found an old account against an old server that isn't in compliance, and it still had rights, which is the real issue here. It's like, if you're not in compliance, why does it have any rights at all?
So there is something we can all learn from this, and that is to not use Microsoft software. No,
harsh, just kidding. Harsh.
No, we've been talking about security here and there lately, and I know no one listening or watching this is going to go to the extent that, say, Richard did when he literally went through all of his accounts, changed the passwords, closed accounts that were no longer necessary, et cetera. But really, this is an example of the need to monitor this occasionally and kind of reduce your attack surface, right? Either by, well, you can't reduce your attack surface by adding 2FA, I guess, but by doing what I just said, which is, remove the accounts you don't need, literally get rid of them, and shore up the accounts you do have, and we all do this. That this is like literally 100% of us have accounts sitting out, or except for Richard, I think, have accounts sitting out there in the world that are unprotected or not protected enough, that have the same password as 17 other accounts or 107, whatever it is.
I am at none of those left. Finally.
No, you are literally a god among men when it comes to this, and many things, frankly.
But I would also say I do get an email from one thing or another almost every day of somebody asking for my password. Right. Like,
nice. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Constantly.
Well, if they ask nicely, I think that's the key.
Facebook routinely tells me, we're trying to recover your password for you. If this is not you, press
help.
I literally got 2 of those the other day.
Yeah. It happens all the time. And it's just and I'm kind of grateful because it's a reminder. People are trying all the time.
And look, we all have our thresholds for pain and effort and time and all that kind of stuff. But the more you can go passwordless via secure methods like 2FA, whatever, the better. And obviously start with the low hanging fruit, your accounts, the online accounts like Microsoft account, Google account, Apple account, the ones that are tied to credit cards like Amazon and all that stuff. I mean, this is just, it's grunt work and no one wants to do it, but this is why you do it.
Am I crazy, or I feel like I'm just waiting for Passkeys to have some massive vulnerability?
So I went through I still think Passkeys are kind of the future, whatever that means, in that they will exist with other methods for, passwordless authentication and verification. But based on the feedback I've gotten from my own readers, I got to tell you, this is maybe too complicated for people. And part of the problem
doesn't work all the time
is that it's inconsistently implemented.
It's frustrating.
Yeah. It's inconsistently implemented on the same account on different devices.
Of everything
it's
that you
very
can
frustrating.
do that's genuinely important that will make a difference from you, it's a password manager.
Yeah.
Because it actually makes your life better. Yeah, like all the passkeys and things are harder to use. The fact that I don't know any of my passwords is a joy.
Yes.
Right. Like it's genuinely a joy.
I feel like I'm old school, but the best thing would be a password manager and 2FA. And that's damn secure, I would think.
A password manager that uses 2FA, so you can authenticate.
No, I don't want the 2FA in the same spot. So I use a
No. That you need it to get into it.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I use a key to get into my my.
But the hard work is actually going through all your accounts and changing all your.
Yeah, that's the part where people put on the brake. Like, I don't think so.
But most password managers will tell you.
Yeah,
this are the same. You got these same passwords. In a breach, or you reuse this. So here's how you change it.
I'm literally going to be writing about this soon. I kind of expected to do it by now, but last weekend, one of the many things I did was to go, Bitwarden, like all these password managers, here are your accounts that have been compromised in some way. They've shown up wherever. Here are your passwords that you reuse everywhere. 129 of them, or whatever. It's horrible, and it's one of those things we all have to kind of confront. So I spent the time to go. I only had less than a dozen. And when you kind of cut out the ones that were like local 192 addresses that were just from my NAS or something, there were only a couple I really wanted to deal with. And one was like Condé Nast, which is, I guess I signed into a travel site at some point in the past rather. And I actually ended up contacting.
Or you're reading Vogue, one or the other.
It's probably not that one. I mean, I'm just guessing. But
I have an endless.
I contacted them to. Okay. Well, okay, but I contacted them to close the account. I said, look, I can't get in, so please close this. And they said, we have no record of you ever having an account with us. And I said, that's interesting because the dark web has a record of it. And, I'd like that to be gone. The other one was Thrifty Car Rental, where I literally spent an agonizing hour trying to change my password, which is nearly impossible because their website is horrible.
Yeah.
And I actually eventually did get it done, but those are 2 accounts. And so when you kind of extrapolate that out to what it would take to, really clean up the whole thing, we're talking about this is a career, and look, I wanted to do this.
It scratched a nice obsessive itch for me, but I was also the person who opened Notepad and blocked out an hour a day and would just plow on them for a while. And if I was in the group, I'd keep going. But it still took a few weeks. to do them all.
No, it's
good,
it was
and,
hundreds.
good for you though.
But this is the central problem with anything security related. A, it's complex. B, it's time consuming and tedious, and people just give up.
Yeah.
Even the ones who are like, you're right, I got to do this. You start, and then you're like, I'm gonna go watch Married with Children instead.
You know what else
like
works
I
on this browser? Cat videos.
Yeah, exactly. It's there's no easy solution. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Actually, is this in my?
I'm looking at Bitwarden and it says 583 logins.
Yeah.
Well,
You mean that you're storing there?
That are in Bitwarden. Now, admittedly, that's a lot of like internal server stuff and so forth too, but it is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of accounts.
Yeah.
It's hundreds.
Yeah. So anyway, it's you're right. It's worth doing. It's something everyone should do. It's something no one is going to do. And I mean, not like literally no one, but like
very
sub
few.
1%.
You could at least do the ones that really count, like your bank accounts, right?
And at least
that's kind of my point. Yeah.
And get started with all your new accounts.
And yes, and always use it from now on. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, you could. I suppose you could go from account to account in Bitwarden or whatever tool you're using and just change the account. Have it generate a complex password, a new password. And like you said, don't know your passwords. Never be able to type in the password for anything.
Don't know it. Don't know what it is. It's 25 characters long, or if it's a really crappy site, 16 characters long.
Yeah.
There's lots of crappy sites.
Do what you can do.
Yeah, but I enjoy being the person who always has the password that's the longest, because I never type it, ever type it. I don't know what it is.
And if Microsoft's listening, I would just give you the same advice. I mean, 2FA when you can do it, complex passwords. It's just common sense, guys.
But admittedly,
secure those legacy systems.
The line they left out of here was how old that test account was. And I presume they left it out because it probably wasn't that old.
Oh, I was okay.
It was a test account from 2003. I don't feel that bad.
Yeah, we still have a legacy Hotmail server running for some reason, and the account name is admin. Really?
Don't worry. Wait till find out what the password is.
Yeah, there is no password. It's like running off a Linksys router from 1999 or whatever.
It's a big organization with a huge long legacy of stuff, and this is not a thing we're ever going to show to anybody. It's just internal, so I'm just doing something quick, and then it sticks around for a bit too long.
Yeah,
and ta-da.
right.
What's your guess? Was it a server? Was it somebody's closet?
Yeah.
Was it in Satya Nadella's closet?
Actually, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I think it was a test account that was supposed to be internal only. Right. That got exposed in a second iteration of something.
Yeah, they're like, why can't I access the internet? Click checkbox and not understanding.
And forget that you put a trivial password on that.
That's right. Yeah, because you were just testing.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure it was something like
just
that.
Just testing.
But this is where your size works against you.
Yep.
In Microsoft's case, it's just, this organization is impossibly vast.
Yeah.
And
that's the great thing about that Brad Smith announcement in November about the future thing. As much as they made it public, it's for them. They've got the problem too. And the reason to make it public is A, now you can't take it back. And B, it's also a statement. We are dog fooding our own problem.
Yeah. Right. Hey, you want someone with experience, and this is one way you get it. Get punched in the face a few times.
The SIEM part, right? The security detection mechanisms, that whole, which is very big for us these days as administrators, like, because often after the breach becomes visible, when the big red screen comes up or whatever it may be, then you go back and look through the logs and go, oh yeah, there they were. And they were here and they were here. Like, why didn't we see this ahead of time? And it's because it's scattered in all these different places. And this is, Microsoft's product called Sentinel. Is about trying to consolidate that data in a way that gives you a better sense that something inappropriate.
Pull apart the disparate pieces of data and draw those connections.
Yeah, that there isn't any one thing that happened. Like, you talk about the 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing. Like, maybe they'd actually been pulling that account for a year.
Right.
Right. They only hit it
waiting the amount of time before they could try again. Yeah,
exactly. Maybe. To never trip over any of those
maybe
lines.
Someday we'll get in here. Oh, look, we did.
And when eventually they do.
Yeah, maybe.
I think probably, though, because it's the Solarwinds group, and I'm giving Microsoft credit that they actually know that. I'm not sure that they would know that.
Yeah.
But then it would make sense if they're trying to figure out what do they know about Solarwinds. That they're probably they've probably been hanging around for a while, right?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure, but I'm also surprised that Microsoft simply named names, like,
I know,
and called it out as a state actor.
Well,
that
but I think
it's like this is Russian.
That kind of, again, all of the language in that blog post was,
well,
kind of hand waving to say, "Oh no, this was like really terrible."
That's why they succeeded. Like, it's more important to show that they were powerful.
They were powerful. I mean, it wasn't our fault.
Okay, hold on a second. I don't think they were trying to imply that Russia hacked Microsoft. I think they were trying to say that this hacker group, which is supported by the country of Russia, government of Russia, was trying to find more information about what Microsoft knew about them.
Well, they said a nation state hacker. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
they meant a
hacker
nation state
and Russia,
backed by a nation state.
Yeah. They said all of those things. So, and normally they used to be coy about this. Like, generally, nation state was language for it's either Russia or China, but we're not going to say.
Right.
Yeah.
This time they just said. Like, all that was missing was the airstrike statement that followed it. By the way, we're a $3 trillion company with an annual revenue greater than the GDP of 150 nations. Right. And here come our F-16J downs.
That's what Microsoft needs.
Their own Air Force? Yeah.
Yeah. Microsoft strikes Iran will be a story in the future.
In the days of the East India Company, they had a naval force.
Sure. Well, how many bunker busters do you think Microsoft has?
Well, and all they really, all they need to do is take out one building in St. Petersburg, and
well, I mean, okay, I don't.
We're joking. This is not the job of a corporation.
But I do find the language of this very interesting. They were talking, for example, they were saying, just don't worry about this was not caused by a vulnerability in one of our products. No, it was just caused by stupidity.
Yes.
Like just plain
that's
old
a good
human
thing because
stupidity.
it can't be repeated. It can't be repeated uniformly, right?
Well, it's also a good thing because it won't cascade out to Microsoft's customers.
But they did say we're going to be better, right? I mean, they said this has triggered an examination of our processes and.
Well, yeah. So, like I said, back in November, they announced this what's it called? Secure Future Initiative. The new trustworthy computing thing. What they said about that was, look, we know that when we implement this, it's going to be disruptive, and we've been purposefully kind of taking the slow boat on that. And now we're thinking, actually, we're going to have to be aggressive, even knowing that this will disrupt things.
Yeah, but that was the implication there was it disruptive to our customers. Here, it's disruptive to us because we like having those insecure systems lying around, or we can't figure out where they are or something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is an internal system, right? Or do you think this might have been a customer system?
No, it was just totally
no. It was no. It was
and again, and the email explanations are so vague, and the press has all made it worse. Like, you got to go back and read the Microsoft ones.
Right.
I don't think they had access to they weren't impersonating any executive email or anything like that.
Yeah, I think your interpretation makes more
lurking.
sense. They had an email inbox that stuff was getting forwarded to.
You don't draw attention to yourself. You just sit back and watch.
Sit and read the mail. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sit back, go out.
The thing is, it took them months.
Get a Moscow
Here's what's going to come out. There will be some. There is going to be more information, right? Part of it will be actually maybe they hit more systems than we thought, or more they access more emails than we thought.
You're totally right. It's like, and did they try any laterals? Like, that's always the question. Is when did they actually have control of a machine at any point? It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like literally they got access to an email box and they were reading.
That makes sense.
I don't know they had a single thing beyond that.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know. I mean, we don't know yet. Anyway,
that's interesting.
It was somewhat stunning, I have to say, in this day and age, to see Microsoft to succumb to something so unsophisticated.
Well, and it's what's going to get you. I would also point out they did disclose it.
Yes. Don't they have to? Are they legally required to? No, because no customer-facing information was
right. And even then,
this is their policy. I mean, I would say, look,
good on them for that. By the way, that's good.
This is the same kind of attack that took down the Death Star in Star Wars, right? You expect the sophisticated
There's always
attacks.
A vent somewhere.
You don't expect the wombat-sized hole. That's not going to be a problem.
They were womprats. Wombats are much smaller.
Sorry.
A womprat's pretty big, actually.
Yeah. I used to hit those back at home. Anyway, it's it's weird. It came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You can read the post at Microsoft.com in their blog, MSRC. Microsoft Security Research something? I don't know.
Microsoft Security Research Center, I think, is the MSRC.
Yeah. And the headline even says, by nation-state actor, Midnight Blizzard.
Nation-state actor, not nation-state, right? It is a known actor. That acts on
Russian state-sponsored actor known as Nibelium.
Yeah, but not necessarily acting on behalf of Russia, right? That's the thing. We don't actually know that.
No, it just sounded like it was the hacking group trying to find stuff for themselves.
Yeah,
by all descriptions.
Although we do have to read between the lines on this. I mean, we just
we have to
totally.
Yeah.
Anyway, there will be more. So I think we'll be talking about this again in a month or two, whenever they come back and provide more information.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if they do. Or they're just like, hey, the matter's been dealt with.
Right.
Used a password spray attack to compromise a legacy non-production test tenant account and gain a foothold, and then see this. I don't know if this is what you think, Richard. Use the account's permissions.
No, I think that sounds exactly like you said. I think it's a VM. It's sitting out on, it just shouldn't have been connected bidirectionally to the internet. It was, and
but access an email account. What does that really mean?
Yeah.
Do you think they log in on these different accounts? They use more passwords? It doesn't seem likely.
Then use the account's permissions to access a very small percentage of Microsoft corporate email accounts.
Right.
Yeah, it's unclear, isn't it?
It just seems more likely to just reading
Would
mail.
you say that the SLT at Microsoft represents a very small percentage of Microsoft employees?
Yes, it's tiny.
I would say it is. It's tiny. It is literally tiny.
Like 1/10 of 1,000th of 1%.
Well, tiny relative to what? Yeah,
but it's the right percentage, though. That's the point.
Yeah, exactly.
But we have no evidence of that. Yeah, I don't even know. There's no way to know.
There's no way to know, but they did specifically say executives, right? Yeah. So it's not just employees.
Yeah. But this just means if you read an email from Scott Guthrie and it had an internal only PowerPoint attachment on it.
Right.
Yeah.
You got it. Right.
Yeah. So I feel like they would have downplayed that further if they could have. For example, yes, there were Microsoft executive emails in there, but they were things that were sent out to large groups of employees. That might have indicated to someone that the account they got into was pretty low level and didn't have access to decision-making threads.
But what do you bet that this was a legacy test account? It might have been even part of attack testing or resilience testing, like that kind of thing. It was related to hacking, and that's why it was on the mailing lists related to hacking.
Hopefully what it was a person who is now a Microsoft executive, who at the time was a low-level employee and had no idea what they were doing. And it's, Scott G or it's Satya Nadella or someone. It's like, look where they are now. We have much more access than we might have otherwise.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. That's great.
No, it does.
Anyway.
Okay.
I hesitate to cast
we beat that to death.
stones because we all live in glass houses.
Yeah, totally. It's just that we really hope that their house has got the best windows going.
You would hope.
Because we are all betting a lot on it.
Yeah.
Their house is the size of Mars.
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Fair.
We cannot compare Microsoft's response to this to what I would do as an individual. My God, of course they should be held to a different standard.
Yeah.
I remember I went drinking with a sysadmin from Microsoft who was involved in SharePoint migration. He was moving internal SharePoint sites up. Yeah, no, we ended up doing a show around it, but the scope of what he's talking about. I moved 35,000 SharePoint sites over 6 months, and what? It's just the scale of things is crazy.
To put this in perspective, I'm doing this photo project where I'm consolidating everything. I'm doing great, but one of the reasons I'm doing great is as you get 3 months into it, you're like, you know what? I'm going to stop worrying so much about duplicates. I'm going to, maybe
a little softer.
I'm going to, we're going to move it along. I just want to get this thing done. And I think that happens with anything, any big project, right? I mean, so everyone goes in with the best of intentions.
And you hit walls.
Yeah. Yeah.
And idealism fades with time.
That's exactly. I will never use a product from a company whose CEO is a jerk. Well, I got bad news for you, buddy.
They're all jerks.
That's everybody. Bad news. Bad news. You can't use any products.
You can use our products. Our CEO is not a jerk. She's quite nice. I mean in big tech. I must say.
I have
a fondness for our CEO.
Yeah, I do too.
Yes.
I didn't mean it like that. No, I meant in big tech specifically.
No, I know what you're talking about.
I just don't trust Microsoft, Okay, well, good luck out there in the world. Facebook's great, so you'll have no problems there.
That Mark Zuckerberg, what a sweetie. What a sweetie.
Geez, he's the best. He's never copied anyone, unlike Microsoft. Know what I'm saying?
Guy, such a sweet guy.
He's not known for that.
Hey, it's me, Leo Laporte. I hope you've enjoyed this little snippet from Windows Weekly. If you want to see more and want to catch the whole show, you can subscribe in your favorite podcast client or visit our website, twit.tv/WW. And of course, there's links right below me.